Hey guys, Paul Myers, licensed professional counselor and Sierra's husband, owner of Intentional Counseling. Hey, today we're going to talk about emotional resilience. So we're going to cover what emotional resilience is and why it's beneficial and what to do and what not to do to gain it or to not reduce that. So emotional resilience is essentially your familiarity and your level of comfort with feelings and emotions, right? So we're human, we all have feelings, totally normal. So when you have an emotion, if it's really uncomfortable, really overwhelming, you don't know what to do with it, it's not familiar, you feel weak or you feel weird or you feel out of control or overwhelmed or whatever, that could mean that there's a lack of emotional resilience, right? Now, certain things that happen in the world that are real, that are we're going to have normal emotional responses to real problems, right? Like, let's say global pandemics, for example, very scary for a lot of people, and so that's a very real problem. So there should be a normal level of emotional response to that, maybe some worry or a little bit of stress, right? So that's normal, but a lack of emotional resilience will typically mean all feelings are uncomfortable, difficult, and all feelings become overwhelming or more powerful, right? More potent. So emotional resilience is being resilient to emotions in the way of I'm familiar, I'm comfortable with it, and it really doesn't bother me that much or faze me that much. So a lot of ways to gain emotional resilience is acknowledging feelings and pushing through those emotions, dealing with them directly, right? Much like going to the gym, where we have an exercise that strengthens muscles. So the more you use your muscle, the more you exercise your muscle, the stronger it's going to get, right? So emotions are exactly like that, where the more you feel an emotion, deal with it directly, the more resilience you gain and more practice you have at dealing with that emotion, right? And it gets easier and less overwhelming over time. So it's the same thing with working out with your physical body or your muscles. You go to the gym, first time you work out, you're out of shape, it hurts a lot, you're really sore, it's really difficult, you're not used to it. But if I continually go to the gym repetitively and I make it a habit, then I can actually lift more weight, run further, have better times, and get stronger and healthier. And it's no big deal, my body can handle that. So psychology is similar to that. The mind is similar. It gains that desensitization effect. The more you experience something, the less of a big deal it becomes, right? And we can be desensitized to anything. Emotions is just one of them. So there's a level of emotional resilience that is good, where we're gaining that familiarity and that comfort level with dealing with emotions directly, okay? So some common ways to avoid feelings or to reduce emotional resilience, these are more of a natural response that a lot of people have, or natural coping tendencies, is to avoid feelings and avoid emotion, right? So that's really common. Lots of people do that automatically without thinking, and so there are several ways of avoidance. Number one is just open denial, where denial is when you lie to yourself and you convince yourself of that lie, basically, and say, I'm not sad, right? Say you lose a loved one or a pet that you really love, and you deny that away and lie to yourself. I'm not sad, right? I wanted this to happen, right? Or I expected this, so it doesn't really hurt, right? So that's not healthy. Nor another example of avoidance would be active suppression. So suppression would be you're just pushing your feelings down. You acknowledge your feeling, but then you stuff it down. No, I'm not sad. Not gonna feel that. So you're avoiding an emotion, right? And storing it to be a bigger problem later, not really dealing with it. Another way of avoidance would be just several forms of addictions out there. So it could be a substance you take. Substances shut down emotions and have a numbing effect to emotions. And that's why a lot of people use or drink or have substance abuse of any kind or an addiction of some sort as a form of release or a numbing effect of your emotions to escape from that. And another common way to avoid would be escapism. So you distract yourself doing other things, or really indulging in a fantasy league or movies or YouTube, or there's all kinds of things that you can escape to just to take your mind off of things. But it's more of an avoidance tactic, right? More than it is dealing with emotion. So those are unhealthy ways that reduce your emotional resilience. Now we want to try to, maybe if you relate to any of those at all, totally get it. But be aware and try to be working on those things. So instead of doing that, we're going to try to cope directly with emotion. Okay, we're talking about a few ways to do that, gaining that emotional resilience. So the first thing you want to do when you have a feeling is just admit you have that feeling. That I'm human, I have emotion, this is okay. Give yourself permission to have feelings. It's part of life, right? Don't criticize yourself or judge yourself off of it, or minimize your own emotion and I'm not allowed to feel that. I'm weak if I feel that. So no, you're human. You have feelings. This is normal, right? Feelings aren't wrong. It's what you do with that feeling that can be wrong. But feelings in and of themselves are not wrong. They're actually trying to tell you something. So we're going to deal with feelings directly. So we're going to acknowledge we have the feeling. We're not going to avoid it. Number two, we're going to discuss that emotion either with a professional. If you don't have a counselor, I'd be honored and humbled to help you, or find a local counselor that specializes in some things you struggle with. But that'd be a great place to share your emotions. It's a safe place. You can also share your emotion with a close friend or a close family member, somebody you trust, and that would be healthy for you, right? Someone who has your best interest in mind, right? So that's another way to deal with emotion directly. Another way to deal with emotion directly would be to journal. So you're admitting to yourself, I have this emotion, I'm struggling with this, and this is what I'm feeling, these are the things that I'm thinking, and this is me, right? This is how I plan on dealing with it. Journaling is very healthy, so you could write down your feelings. It's a way to get them out, which is good. It's like a cathartic release. And very healthy for people to get emotions out rather than carrying them in, right? Another healthy way to deal with emotion is to essentially pray and give it to the Lord and be in direct communication with God and release that emotion to Him, right? Say, hey, I'm going to give this to you, God. You do a much better job than we do, so I'm going to hand that over to you. Very healthy. There are certain ways to cope with emotions, but you definitely want to work through that feeling, preferably with another person or someone you trust or a professional or with God, right? These are good, healthy things. We don't want to dwell in emotion and just really ruminate and fixate on it over and over and over again. But you do want to deal with that emotion, talk about it, get it out, kind of get that processing and that release you're looking for, and then you just let go of it and move forward from it, right? And that will help tremendously. Say you have a stressful day at work, and you come home and you want to vent to your spouse about how stressed you were, or you have a close friend you want to call, or if you want to journal about it or pray about it. These are really healthy ways to deal with emotions directly, right? Rather than, I have a stressful day at work, come home, and just immediately put a movie on and don't think about it, or put on television and just numb my mind and pretend like it never happened, or right, something like that, or cope through any number of substances or chemical. So that's emotional resilience in a nutshell, and some quick just ideas of how to gain it and some common unhealthy tendencies of how to reduce that, which is bad, right? So hopefully that helps you. If you don't have a therapist, I would love to hear from you. If you have questions or concerns or comments, I'd love to hear from you. And we'd be happy to help in any way. We are doing telehealth sessions during the coronavirus time. And we'll be easing back into face-to-face visits as well. But yes, please leave your comments below, and we'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Take care.